What's up? I'm Dan Fredenberg, and this is another Chance Encounter.
Hey, what's up? I'm Dan Fredenberg. I'm a commercial real estate guy. I'm from the internet. We're seeing more properties like this being built in front of a house that's going to be torn down soon. I understand that there are power lines that are getting kind of close.
What's up again? This is Dan Fredenberg, and that there is a commercial real estate building. I'm joined today with Flint Jamison. How you doing today, Flint?
I'm doing great.
Awesome. Awesome. I've seen you around LinkedIn a fair bit. I spend a ton of time on there, but that's not why you're here today. You're here because this is a chance encounter, and what they're about is I interview commercial real estate investors. I go through the 5 different motivations that I found that commercial investors have for getting their next or first property. And I say, which one's you? Then I go through the DanDoesDeals commercial roll die. There's only 6 different sides to it, and you can get your copy. You can't get your copy at whoareyouhelping.com. You can get it at DanDoesDeals.com, download it, print it out, and you can share it with your friends as far as showing them how commercial deals work out. But the first thing you're going to have to be able to do if you're going to make it in commercial real estate is you have to learn how to introduce yourself. So Flint, can you please introduce yourself to the audience? Now I've teed that up.
Absolutely. So I'm a syndicator. I help engineers develop a second stream of income passively through real estate. The other thing I'd like to put a plug in for is we buy apartment communities that are distressed or are underperforming. And what we really love to do is turn around the community. We love to help the people in that apartment building have a better life, feel like they have security. So we do 2 things. We not only give investors a great return on their money, but we really make a huge impact on people's lives.
All right, that's beautiful. So you've also covered some of the motivation here. I'll pull that up now. I go through the motivation piece first in these interviews because sometimes I have some newbies on and they know what their motivation is, but they don't know what role they're going to have. So we'll go through those first. The first motivation I found is some people are out to preserve their purchasing power. So if you have a family office or you basically rely on the cash flow that comes from your wealth to make ends meet, then that's what you're up to, is you're preserving your purchasing power. So inflation is the big thing that will threaten to ruin the party. The second motivation is my one. I think it's often one for a lot of engineers. You know, I got a background in electrical engineering myself, but it's trading time for wealth. I realized that, you know, as a high earner, one of the problems of wage earning is you pay the strongest kind of tax that's out there, which is income tax. So you're basically giving away about half after everything's said and done. And it hit me like, doesn't it make more sense to pivot so that I'm right in the business, so I'm trading my time for equity rather than the highly taxed income? So that's what I'm up to personally. The next reason is the most common one for people: fast tracking retirement. A couple things that are implied is that, you know, you should have something on the go in order to call it fast tracking your retirement. I've had some people in their early 20s. It's like, oh yeah, I really want to fast track my retirement. It's like, yeah, that doesn't even count because you haven't even started. So, but the bigger thing about fast tracking your retirement is that there's an end goal in sight. You're not necessarily the person who wants to hustle for the sake of hustling. You know, it's whereas the next guys, you know, it's all about the numbers for them. They're totally ambitious. They want to buy their entire hometown. They're never going to stop hustling. Those people are very, very valuable to have in your GP team, just because you know, they're going to keep on going and going and going. But the next group, you know, they might not be looking for generational wealth for themselves. Maybe they're fine with their great grandchildren having a day job at some point, but the last group, you know, they've got some sector of society that they really want to make a huge impact on. Maybe they want to build a hospital or something like that to help other people, but they realize that accumulating wealth, maybe in the Bill Gates, Warren Buffett sense of where they're going to be giving away like 90% of their net worth upon their death, if you're going to make a bigger impact, you have to generate more wealth. and even if it's for the environment or animals. But some people, that's what they're up to as far as why they want to get more commercial properties. So Flint, what resonates with you the most out of those different
So
motivations described here?
it's kind of all of the above, but I got into this because I wanted to fast track retirement. Time is the most important thing to me, and it is the most valuable thing. So if I can get back my own time, then my life has changed, especially when you have little kids.
Mm-hmm.
It's super important.
Mm-hmm. Yep, 100% there with you. That's exactly where I'm at as well. The other thing that's nice about using real estate in general is that you at least have that option. Like I found that like if you don't have at least 1 foot in real estate, I don't even know how you intend on retiring. I'm not convinced that it'd even work. So even just keeping the door open, like it doesn't matter if it's the ambition or whatever, you kind of have to be in here. But you might not know that if you're not in commercial real estate. So I'm going to go through the 6 different roles. Again, you can go to DanDoesDeals.com and download your own die, and then you can go through these roles and communicate effectively on the topic of commercial real estate with your friends and family. But I'll start off with the repositioners. A repositioner is a person who looks at a whole bunch of different properties and they're doing something, they have a fancy word for it, they're underwriting it. But that all that means is you're doing the math, figure out, is the business actually making what they say they are? Is it worth what I'm likely to offer for it? But the other thing that a repositioner is up to is they're looking for upside. They're figuring out, how can I make more money from this property than it is right now? And they got 2 main tools in their tool belt to do that. The first one is the operations piece. If you stop more of those Benjamins from going down the toilet, then you're going to be making a lot more money. There's more to operations than just unclogging toilets and collecting rents. There's also a marketing piece, which is the leasing agent, to make sure the vacancy rates are low. But that's on the GP team. That's part of what I'm up to on top of the marketing piece. But since I'm also, everybody ends up being a repositioner if they're on the internet in some degree. The other way that they're going to get their upside, especially since operations isn't going to cut it these days with how hot real estate is right now, they're going to get a contractor. They're going to get a contractor team to actually make the places nicer so they can charge more in rent, because that's what upside is. But if you're a repositioner like me on the internet, you've got a huge problem with what you've got so far. You're going to need boots on the ground. You're going to need a local, someone who can be there in an hour or two, and that's not going to be me because I'm stuck in the communist state of Canada. Okay, so you're going to need a local for sure for these different buildings. And if you're a tenant and you think of the owners, you're probably thinking of these 4, but of course it's not that simple. You have to go to the financiers, the capital raisers, more specifically the banks, and say, hey, I've got this property that's worth millions or tens of millions of dollars that I want to pick up and add to my portfolio. Can you lend me millions or tens of millions of dollars? And they're not going to be satisfied with just seeing this. They're going to want to see a sponsor. They're going to need to have somebody who already has a similar asset. Even if you are Elon Musk, the richest man in the world, and you decide, hey, I want to buy a 350, a 1,500 unit apartment complex. If he wants to get a loan, he needs to have somebody in the fold who already owns a similar asset. There are 2 other restrictions, which is that you have to have a certain amount of liquidity, and then you also have to have a balance sheet worth at least the amount of the loan. But if you throw that all together, those 6 pieces, you've got yourself a commercial real estate deal. So Flint, as far as core competencies go, you mentioned engineers, so that probably means you have a big capital raising component. But and then you also said engineering, so that means you're not going to be useless on the contractor side. You'll at least be able to contribute and see if things are going in a manageable way. But that's my mind reading based on
you're reading it right. So I've done all the underwriting, help build the business plan, right? That's all the numbers, make the business plan work. And then I am really pushing hard on capital raising right now. That's kind of the niche I'm going to. But I also love being the boots on the ground and the operations side, mechanical engineering me. I just want to make things efficient. So I kind of span multiple things, but right now at this very moment, I'm focusing on capital raising.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. All right, sweet. And as far as an ideal property, especially since you said local, boots on the ground, geography, unit count, and class are usually what people would say makes it easier for them to say yes and it's more difficult to say no on a property and call it ideal. Sometimes we call it a buy box. So what's your buy box as far as if somebody's bringing you a deal with the cherry on top? What does it look like? Can you describe it for the audience?
Yeah, so I'm typically closer to the bigger cities. Right now I have 3 different markets. One, I'm still trying to get into the Denver market. That's where I live. I love being the boots on the ground. But right now we have deals in Texas and Atlanta. Or Atlanta and Augusta, Georgia.
All right.
And the units are 100 plus, like 100 to 250. We really love to get properties that are close to each other, so we get economies of scale when it comes to the property management and contractors.
All right, beautiful. And then the next part I ask is who can you help the most? One of the neat things about commercial real estate is people are so helpful with each other, and it's because nobody is all of the faces of the die at any given time. You're really focusing on a couple of them, but without breaking any SEC restrictions. So that means you're not allowed to entice investors unless you're talking about a 506c raise. But who can you help more than anybody else? Is it beginners? Is it people who don't want to be involved in all, or what is it?
Yeah, you know, I'm still pretty fresh to this game. I've only been into syndications for a little over a year. And I love watching people grow with me because we're all learning something new together. And we find the big mentors, but really we can learn a lot from each other as we grow.
I love that. I love that. And I can kind of let the cat out of the bag a little bit, just because like I've got this really weird path, you know, coming from the tech side in real estate into actually being on these teams myself. It means I don't have the same pitfalls. Like the fact is, like I've been doing some capital raising by building the website assets, you know, the full online funnels for those sorts of things. And you're not allowed to advertise for investors, but I sure can, because that's what I'm advertising. I'm not actually raising, so it's not against SEC restrictions to say I'll build the digital infrastructure. It's kind of a neat little thing. But yeah, I keep on pointing out in these other chance encounters that in a lot of coaching programs or mentorship programs, they don't even mention the sponsor because they don't want you finding more sponsors. It's a pretty nasty catch-22 sort of situation, and I get to tell the truth, which is my favorite thing. It feels so good to be able to tell the truth. But anyway, if somebody wants to reach out to you, we ended up meeting, crossing paths through Yona Weiss's LinkedIn challenge. Is LinkedIn the best way to reach you, or is there a website? Or...
It's a great place, but vestuscapital.com, VESTUS capital.com. I've got a ton of information out there, and you can find me there, and a free report you can download that breaks down the different asset classes for investing and where real estate fits in compared to the others.
Sweet, sweet. And one last thing for you in the camera, which is if you look at that button, you might be afraid because there's a terrible, scary, awful subscribe button, but it's the red one. You got to look out for the red ones. Those are the bad ones. The good ones are the gray ones. And you turn your red button to a gray button just by clicking on it. And it doesn't cost you anything, but it means that YouTube starts to pay for these videos instead of me. And that's awesome. So pretty please, with sugar on top, get rid of that awful, scary red button, turn it gray. And all it really does is it adds these videos to your list of suggestions if you ever happen to be in this app ever again, which some people aren't. But just hitting the subscribe button is plenty. You've done me an enormous favor just by doing that. Just like Flint, you've done me an enormous favor by joining me today. So thank you.
Push the red button.
That's right. Awesome. Thanks, Flint.
Thanks.
I just want to tell you, because I've actually seen your website, Real Estate is a Scam, before, and I loved it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, because I think it's really so spot on. There's good stuff, bad stuff in every industry.
Yeah, make sure you subscribe, like, and hit that notification bell. For Dan the Man.
And thank you. Turn that subscribe button from red like his beard to gray like his beard will be.
So I met Dan through some networking groups for real estate investing. He's a great guy from what I know about him. He's very ambitious, and he makes it easy to come on with his questions and has a great setup. It's easy, it's clear, concise, and I'd recommend going on his interviews for anyone that's considering it.
It's it was unlike anything I've ever experienced. It was super fun. The process was so easy a caveman can do it. I mean, if you guys haven't done it yet, you guys need to get on his calendar. Just take 15 minutes of your time, get exposure, find out who Dan is, what he's about. He's a true trifecta. And if you don't know who he is, get in touch with him. Google his name, find him on LinkedIn, do whatever you can. Just reach out to him.
So I really appreciate the format. Like I've told you a couple times before, I think it's really great because me personally, I'm very long-winded. I have to purposefully make things more concise, but the way I take things in is I definitely prefer things to be concise and straight to the point and concentrated. And the chance encounters really do that great for individuals. So you can get a good grasp on who they are, what do they do, why do they do it, what space do they operate in. That's why I love chance encounters.